Hey, it's Ben Wicks from Roulette, and today we're making a video about the 0 point. When I talk about 0 point, what I mean is that sort of space where your gear and your ears and your hands are all working together with the least amount of effort to get the sound that's in your head out into the room. So it's basically 3 bits: your hands, your bass, and your amp. Number 1, the amp. 12-inch is a favorite of mine, and a Class D solid state amp just out of necessity. All my EQ's flat, and it's literally just being as honest as it can be. Speakers are something that so many people overlook. The size of the speaker, the kind of speaker, all of that stuff's super important. As important as your strings, as important as your bass. I'm a big fan of 12s because of the dynamic range that the 12 gives me. I kind of feel like, classically a bass player runs 15s or 10s or a combination of the both. I find that 12s kind of sit in the middle, give me enough elbow room to get dubby and flabby and bluesy down one end, and have enough punch that I can attack and do that as well. If I was on a gig playing dub or reggae, sure, I would love a 15 instead. And if I was on a gig playing jazz and getting really attacky and narky on it, then sure, 10s would work better maybe. But when you're not sure what you're doing and you're just trying to get that dynamic range, 12s kind of, for me, really do the job. Number 2, the bass. This thing is my number 1 go-to. I love it. Massive amounts of dynamic range, which is what, for me, it's all about. I run round wound strings. A lot of guys talk to me about my tone, and a lot of guys ask me, what kind of flats I'm running. Again, just like with running 12-inch speakers, I'm trying to get an instrument to cover the most amount of ground possible comfortably. I don't run flats. I run rounds because I want to be able to attack and cut if I want to, because you can always palm mute and get a thicker, bigger sound. But if you put flat wounds on an instrument, you're kind of in one end of town and you can't move around so much sonically. So, but yeah, understanding that that's what the instrument's going to do and how that instrument's going to do it is really, really important. I am a big zealot and a big believer in changing your strings. Now, that's not something that I have like calendared out, this is the day I change my strings. It actually is a physical response. Now, I know what my 0 point is. I know what my brain's trying to hear. I know that when I'm playing nice and lightly, it sounds like this. I know that if I palm mute with my thumb, it sounds like that. And I know if I attack, it sounds like this. But what happens is, as your strings age, the amount of attack and bite that you get comfortably and with no thought or effort diminishes. So micro decisions happen in your brain while you're looking for your own personal 0 point, and your hands start working harder than they should or harder than they need to. So I'll wake up after a weekend of gigs and my forearms are sore. And that's the red flag to change the strings. Time to change the strings. You can't get and consistently find the most comfortable place I can't, without changing the strings. I get about 60 hours of play out of a set, and I do about 10, 15 hours a week. So every 5 or 6 weeks. 3, the player. So we're all different, and we all like different music, and we all play different music. That's awesome. But understanding how to get comfortable and stay comfortable and play every day is important. Not hurting yourself, not giving yourself RSI, all of those things, super, super important. Dynamic range for me is a big thing. Doesn't mean that it is for everybody. I've found that as a player who's doing different gigs, different nights of the week, getting gear that gives me enough rope to do all of it well, trying to do all of it well, is the way to go. There are definitely guys out there that are going to prefer a jazz bass because it does that thing for them, prefer an active bass because it does that thing for them. Totally great. All the power to you. If you're doing a blues gig or a dub gig, reggae gig, of course, a 15-inch speaker that's pushing that big, round, old school, vintage muscle vibe is totally a great decision and a great choice for that, getting to that 0 point, getting to that bass player 0 point. Running, if you're playing, staccato, jazz, Jaco Pastorius style stuff, sure, using 10s and getting that honk and that bite, perfect for that player's 0 point. I guess my 0 point has evolved as a bass player that's out there doing weddings, doing corporate work, doing session work, doing a lot of blues stuff, doing hip hop, doing reggae, doing as much as I can, as often as I can. So having stuff that I know basically gives me enough rope to hang myself sonically is the best choice for me, so that I've got the same gear, I know my gear, I'm comfortable with my gear on every gig, and I know how to get all of that vibe with my hands, without really stuffing around with dials and knobs and buttons and switches. So yeah, you combine all those three things and find what it is that is your 0 point, that's comfortable for you. Every one of those points can be expanded on in a million different ways, but those three main things, understanding your amp, understanding your bass, and understanding what you're trying to achieve with your bass and your amp, is going to help you understand what you're aiming to do, so that then you can expand and play with it and make the right decisions around tone and vibe, because that's what it'll, that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I don't know, yeah. Hey, it's Ben Wicks from Blues Roulette, and today we are my brain went off on a tangent about Blues Brothers stuff. It's really quiet. Hey ya. Number 2, I just spat everywhere. No. Yeah. 2. Open your eyes, Benjamin. No, that's terrible. Number 3, the player.